Thank you, Madam Chairman. Our nutrition programs play an important role in helping families navigate difficult times. Unfortunately, we know perhaps the biggest economic challenge facing Americans is inflation. In particular, families have been hit hard by inflation at the grocery store. Since President Biden took office, the Food at Home Price Index is up 19.6%. Grocery prices for many family staples have skyrocketed. For example, chicken breast prices are up 32%, milk up 21%, ground beef up 21%. As we have a discussion about our nutrition programs ahead of the next Farm Bill, I think it's important we also recognize how inflation and policies that have contributed to it impact the ability of families to put nutritious meals on the table. Ms. Dean, as you know, our food banks and local food pantries play a critical role in helping to provide for families in need. In Nebraska, the Food Bank of Lincoln and the Food Bank for the Heartland rely on the Emergency Food Assistance Program, TFAP, along with philanthropic support to distribute food to local food pantries and families in need. Since the 2018 Farm Bill, we have also seen some innovative programs outside of TFAP designed to aid food banks, such as the Farmers to Family Food Box Program, which has been quite successful in my state of Nebraska. Could you discuss lessons learned from the Farmers to Families Food Box Program or other initiatives that helped food banks to better service their partners? How could these lessons apply to TFAP as we think about the upcoming Farm Bill?
Well, thank you, Senator. I really appreciate that question. You're exactly right that our food banks are incredible assets in the communities that they serve, and we really want to do what we can to support them as they feed our neighbors. I would say that there are there were many lessons, but I'll take away two particularly from that endeavor that we wanted to carry forward. One is it's very clear that there are thousands of organizations throughout the country that are working to serve individuals in their community who were able to step in, and they distributed those. They were part of the community that distributed those Farmers to Families food boxes, but they may not actually be connected to the emergency food network that USDA supports through TFAP. We wanted to find a way to continue to harness their power in their communities and to see if they were interested to bring them in to the emergency food system. That's why the Secretary launched what we are calling Reach and Resiliency Grants to each state to explore how to expand the emergency food network into communities, particularly rural and remote, that may not have been well served by it before. So that's one lesson. The other is that offering food banks and our local community partners pre-packed boxes was a really interesting innovation that worked and saved labor and volunteer hours. So we've incorporated that into a pre-packed fruit and vegetable box that's become popular amongst our food banks as an item to order. So we'll continue to integrate lessons learned so that we can strengthen the program and the network as they, and I would just say we work very collaboratively with them, driven by what they see they need.
That's good to hear. Thank you. In your statement, you noted that Congress had provided the option for states to suspend certain quality control requirements during COVID. I was in touch with food banks all across the state during those difficult times when we saw people isolated, when we saw numbers increase of the usage of food banks, while at the same time a decrease in volunteer service at those facilities. So it was a hard time, a challenging time to maneuver through. But USDA could not establish national or state level payment error rates for 2 years during that time. However, you noted USDA did continue to analyze trends that it's not surprising to see elevated error rates during such a challenging and complex time, but that it is incumbent upon USDA to address this with states. So my question is, states still have a variety of options on how to administer SNAP. How is USDA working with states to ensure program integrity?
Well, first I will say, while Congress did suspend the quality control system during the early part of the pandemic, we kept corrective action plans in place. We kept that, which meaning states that were struggling with error rates, that we have a formal agreement with them and steps they're supposed to take. Those all remained in place. We remained very much engaged with states on making sure that they were monitoring and taking action to reduce errors. It's also true that during the pandemic, states lost staff. They had to shift their mode of operations, and remote services made administration of the program more challenging. So when I say it's not acceptable, but it is also true that states would be challenged on precision accuracy. It was a time in our country we were leaning into providing assistance, and we told states to take that direction. That having been said, stewarding the program and managing federal taxpayer dollars is incredibly important. So we work with states on assessing their operations, taking a look at whether they have practices or, as you point out, options that might be making their program more error-prone. There might be, it could be their forms design, the way their call centers are structured. We're very actively engaged with them on, and we put them in touch with peers who may look similar and have less important lessons learned on how to provide access while reducing payment, improving payment
Have you found any examples where there's one or two things that seem to be happening across states? You said to put them in touch with their peers. Have you found examples where the challenge, the problem, the issue seems to be prevalent?
Staffing has been a challenge across many states. And then I think also the amount of paperwork that they're asking for states, they need it to assess eligibility. But it also means that, let's say, if you asked for 6 weeks of pay stubs when federal rules allow you to ask for 4, that you're now looking for more paper. You've got more things to sift through. I think. So those are examples. There are also, I'm trying to think, options where targeting longer phone interviews with households that might be or interviews with households that have more complex cases, and spending less time on a household that's pretty straightforward, perhaps a senior with stable income, they've lived in the same place for a long time. You wouldn't want to spend the same amount of time on those households. So helping engage with them there on balancing their work.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Ranking Member Bozeman. And I want to just thank